First, ding 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 ding, tell him what he's won, Johnny. No, my god, that's probably the most informative comment of the week. Where are the beer jokes? I missed them, and you don't look like somebody that should be missing them. That's right, it's that time of the week. I am Jaime Rivera, this is Pocket Now, and this is the Pocketnow Daily Recap for last week. So on Monday, I asked you if you owned a smartwatch, which one and why, as the news were that a lot of surveys confirmed that 10% of iPhone users are willing to buy the Apple Watch. We have 987 comments, out of which Faye says, I cannot handle the hassle of charging one more gadget. And smartwatches are for people who just want to show off. No real use, just a gimmick for now, but let's wait for the future and what holds. And you have a very interesting point here, definitely. A lot of people that own a smartwatch own them because they're cool, because they are the new thing, but not necessarily because they're useful. And that's my biggest complaint about smartwatches, the fact that they're just an extension of a phone, more like an accessory than anything else. And Jade says, if a smartwatch can't function independently, then there's nothing smart about it. Good point. Best comment of the week. Thank you. And Santiago says, smartwatches are like small versions of smartphones, which are uncomfortable, expensive, and might save you 10 seconds of a day, totally useless. You know, most of the comments of this video in particular were negative against smartwatches, and that could give you a scope of why they haven't sold as much as they should. Then on Tuesday, I asked you, what do you think about all these patent disputes between smartphone makers, as the news were that the Chinese company is going to sue Apple because they feel that the iPhone 6 was a copy of their design, even though I don't think they've seen the iPod Touch 5th generation. We have 653 comments, out of which Carlos Lopez says, everyone copies at some point. Samsung copied the iPhone in specs, a little design, so now its phones are somewhat popular. True. It depends, really. The biggest problem is that smartphones lately have become so basic in their design, so basic, so simplistic, that how can you say you're not really copying if it's just the slate? If it's just so simple that everything just looks like it. And John says, sue, 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 sue. Is that a name? No, it's not in the comments, by the way, but sue them all day long. Let Crapple feel all other companies felt. True, Apple is #1 at suing others. Sometimes it's good for them to get a taste of their own medicine. Then Swan says, every single phone now looks exactly the same, so I don't care anymore. It's amazing how phones looked so wild and different 5 years ago, but all that turns into an unsurprising piece of slab like we see today. Now, we even call a company creative and revolutionary when they release a phone with 5 color options. Dude, probably the best comment of the week as well. We've had some really good comments this week, and this is probably one of the best ones. That's the biggest problem. You know, phones are really just slabs today. How can you not have a phone look like another if they're all slabs? What happened to the glory days of slide-out QWERTY keyboards and different other options like, well, no, I'm not going to talk about the backplate. Then on Wednesday, I asked you, which is your favorite iOS or Android keyboard, as the news were that SwiftKey was so smart it could even help Professor Stephen Hawking, you know, with his disability issues. We have 597 comments, out of which Dark Black 22 says, Flexi and SwiftKey. Both of them are awesome, even though I am more into Flexi. I have heard a lot of comments today about Flexi. I'm actually going to give it a try indeed. And Otis Show says, I always go back to SwiftKey. It's my daily keyboard. Like, sometimes I force myself to switch, but nah, can't. You know, that is exactly my problem. I've loved SwiftKey ever since the first time I tried it, mainly because I speak in 2 languages, and I don't like to be swapping keyboards every single time. And as much as I've tried to move away from SwiftKey, it ends up being my favorite keyboard for reasons that are just particular to me. Tommy says, right now I prefer using the stock keyboard on my iPhone because it always works. SwiftKey on iOS is great, but it lags sometimes, and you know, you have a point. The iOS keyboard is really, really good. It used to be my favorite before SwiftKey. The problem is that, again, the language switching and everything is annoying. And SwiftKey came to the iPhone, but yeah, I agree. Third-party keyboards on iOS right now are terrible. Then on Thursday, I asked you, do you like big phones or small phones, and why? The news were that Apple is building a 4-inch iPhone for 2015, which is interesting that they're going back to that. We have 1,236 comments. Thanks a lot, guys. Out of which Eduardo says, I think one-handed use is more important. Having a big phone can get annoying at times. I just don't care about big phones, and that is your taste. I know a lot of people that feel otherwise, but true, one-handed usability is important. In my case, I used to like the iPhone mainly because I have to carry 2 phones, so it was great for one of them to not be huge. And Paul says, I think one-handed usability is important, but I am generally using my phone sitting down or in some resting position, so most of the time I am using 2 hands anyways. I wouldn't ever buy another 4-inch phone. True. Most people like phones to consume content, and yeah, a big display makes a big difference. And Windsor Lim says, big phones for sure. Eyesight discomfort is definitely more serious than hand comfort. Or discomfort, should I say. You make an amazing point. Most of the people that I know that have gone to big phones haven't really been because of content consumption. They want bigger text. And they want to see everything but on that display. And yeah, buying a bigger phone is a good option. Only don't make it an iPhone, as Apple actually doesn't handle big displays the same way that Android does. And finally, on Friday, I asked you if the Samsung Galaxy S6 is your next smartphone, as the rumors were that we already have specs and benchmarks for the Galaxy S6, which should be slated for MWC 2015. We have 957 comments, out of which Henry says no. After using stock Lollipop, every skin irritates me, and I think that everybody feels that way. The biggest problem with Samsung is not really their phones. I don't feel they're ugly. I just feel their UI is dated. Then Marco says, nope, Samsung equals Samsung every year. Seriously, I'm never going to buy another Samsung phone until they truly update the design for their software and hardware. Internals and specs are fine at the very least. You know, in my opinion, for example, again, I don't like their UI, but I do like their hardware. I feel that it feels good. I used to love the Note 3, and I like the Note 4, so it depends really on taste. And then Russ says, what do you mean you're not a Samsung fan? I vaguely remember you talking so highly of the Note 4 being released and how you are going to buy it. Well, the only Samsung phone that I like is the Note lineup, and it's ever since the Galaxy Note 3, mainly because of the faux leather, mainly because it's really thin, and because, yeah, there is some added functionality with the big display and having a phablet, and again, owning a small iPhone, and the phablet was cool. It reminded me of the old Pocket PC days where you actually own the dumb phone and the Pocket PC. Pretty much the same deal here. Well, not necessarily. I'm not calling the iPhone a dumb phone, but you get the point that I'm making. And yeah, I like the Galaxy Note 4. I just, I don't know. It hasn't really grown on me yet. That's it for our Pocketnow Daily Recap. Thank you very much for watching. A couple of tips if you want your comments to be featured. Number 1, keep them short. Number 2, stick to the point. Number 3, try to get some thumbs up. It helps us spot them a lot easier. You can also follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. You can follow me on Twitter, Jaime_Rivera. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like what you saw. I am Jaime Rivera. Thank you very much for watching. We will see you next week.